Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Shed Show. A little garage talk here. I'm out here this morning. It's cold, and I'm just messing around with the old 74 Coronet. And I thought of a few things that I thought I'd like to share with you. Probably my first car was a Coronet, same color. And I think I was 12 or 13 years old, and Dad had a little farm, and we worked in tobacco. And I worked in tobacco for him all year. And he said, he had an old car. I think it was a 72. I'm not 100% for sure, but I think it was. And it had got so the battery would run dead overnight. And he didn't work on cars, and anything he done to a car was pretty sketchy. He was a farmer and a carpenter, so he didn't, my uncles did, but he didn't. Anyway, the battery would run dead overnight, and he'd have to unhook the battery. And I believe it started running hot, so Dad would just run one into the ground, keep pouring STP in it, and then go get another one. And he had this one here, and it still ran and everything, not this one, but the 72. And so he said, I'll give you that old car if you want it. Like I said, I was 12 or 13, and I could drive it around through the fields and stuff. And I said, yeah, I wanted that. Later on, found out, or I didn't find out, but I think what was the matter with the battery was, or the battery was good, but I believe that, we know now, probably a diode or something in the alternator was causing it to drain the battery. There's a dead short in it somewhere. I'm like, if there's a dead short, there's going to be some smoke coming out of the wires. Now I know that, but then I didn't. And he had some guys that came over and helped around the farm, and one of them's name was Tom. And so I'm here, I got the car, I'm cleaning it up, and I asked Tom, I said, what can I do to make this thing, soup this thing up? I didn't know crap. Again, I'm 12, 13 years old. He said, well, I said, I don't have any money, Tom. He said, clean the plugs and the distributor cap and stuff like that. I was like, well, what's that stuff? And he said, well, I knew what spark plugs were. He said, well, the wire, take them plugs out and clean them, take that cap and rotor button out of there. He showed me where it was. He said, it just pops off there and clean all that stuff up and put it back together. I said, okay. And so maybe later on that day or whatever, I lit in on it. I found enough tools to do the job, which socket and a spark plug socket and a ratchet. I took the plugs out, took the wires off of it, took the distributor cap and the rotor button off of it. And I'm pretty sure it had points, but I didn't mess with those. And I just gathered them all up and took them into the kitchen in Mom's sink and just washed them off with dishwasher liquid, just washed them off real good. That's how I cleaned them. I didn't gap the points or gap the plugs like you're supposed to. I just kind of washed them off with water, blowed the cap out, went out there, stuck the stuff back on there, and and I put the wires on there casual, just however however I wanted to put them on. Of course, then it wouldn't hit a lick. It was backfiring and everything. And Tom came along later. I was like, what happened? He was like, well, did you put the wires back on there right? I'm like, yeah, they're all hooked to, every one of them's hooked to, it's hooked to this distributor cap, as you call it, and the spark plug. He said, you got to put them in there in a certain order, as a firing order. I'm like, huh? So he gets in there and fixes it, and bam, all was good. Didn't help it out a bit, but it was good enough I could start it up and drive around the field and out to the end of the road and back, out the end of the holler and back, and that satisfied me. And I thought about another thing. I'm pretty sure that old car had points, and I never did this, but later on, as you got to working on cars more and more and more stuff, of course, a lot of the old cars had points. How many of you have done this trick? Your points are fried, you're driving along, it's not doing good, or it finally just quits altogether. And I've done this trick. And first of all, I like to say it's a whole lot easier to do on a Mopar big block where the distributor's up front, or a Ford where the distributor's up front, for goodness sakes. And a few others that have the distributors up front. What other cars have? The Buick has the distributor up front. International 4-cylinders and V8s have the distributor up front. My goodness, people, put the distributor up front. When it's in the back, it's hard to get to. But anyway, your points burn up, and you take a matchbook like this, and you're looking for sandpaper. So you get the sandpaper piece off the back of it that you strike the match on, and open them points up, spin it around there where the points are closed, open the points up, stick that sandpaper in there, work it back and forth and get that cleaned up. Meanwhile, all the debris is falling down in the distributor. And then take the paper part of it and get in there and buff it with just the paper, the matchbook cover. Get in there and buff that out. And even, I forget who told me this old trick, if you had a screwdriver, you could even get in there and set the points with the thickness of the matchbook, of the little back of it there. I think it's a little bit close, but it'll get you going. Just set it like that. There's your feeler gauge, matchbook. There's your new set of points and a feeler gauge with the matchbook, How many of you guys remember that trick? And another one I thought of is timing. And I think me and the boys, once we start messing around with cars, this is how we timed them back in the day. Didn't have a timing light. You get the distributor in there and get it so it'd start and run. And so what we would do, you go down the road. Run. I could advance it. It'd be better if I advanced it some more. So you pop the hood, pull over, pop the hood, and you leave the distributor just a little bit loose and reach back in there and advance on, run up there some more. And, oh yeah, that's better. And you keep advancing it till it starts spark knocking, starts detonating when it's under a load, And all right, then, all right, back it off just a little bit. And then, you're driving around some and you go to town, you shut it off. And if it's so far advanced, it's hot summer or something, and it's doing the you have to back it off a little bit more. Eventually you end up where it was when you started almost. But you want to get the most advanced you can get out of it, But those are some tricks, the way we used to set distributors and before we had timing lights. And I still do that. That's the way this one is. I just set it by ear. I think I used a vacuum gauge on it. I said, that's about right. And I was going to full intentions of driving around, advancing until I seen what it did. But I got lucky on this car, and I was very satisfied with the way it ran. I said, it starts good, it runs good. I'm not fooling with it. I'm not putting a timing light on it. It does good. I'm happy, heck with it. And that's the way it sets now. But I just want to share some of those old memories with you and see if you guys remember doing that. And if any other tricks that using whatever you have laying around, put them in the comments below. Oh, another one more. You take, of course I've got cigarettes. If your fuse blows, those glass fuses, get the foil out of your cigarette pack and wrap that around the fuse and jam it back in there. And then later on, when that burns up, you can just wad up more, just keep wadding up more and more cigarette tin foil and cramming back in there to get you home, or just as a permanent fixture of your car. Cigarette foil fuse. Good for, it's variable amperage. You can have one that's 5, 10, you can just dig in there and get a bunch of it out. You've got a 30 amp fuse right there. Maybe it won't catch your car on fire. Maybe it will. All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Shed Show. Bye.